Welcome back, everyone. We're going to the section about the Thai monarchy. And before we do that, we're going to watch a little video about the subject.
Just for this moment. And their blind devotion to their king stands in very stark contrast to the mood in the protests that have engulfed his kingdom. This is the man who allegedly insulted the dog. It wasn't just any dog, though. It was the king's dog. Since ascending to the throne 4 years ago, he's taken full personal command of military units in the capital. He's changed the constitution so that he can rule from abroad. He has spent most of his time in Germany. He took personal control of the $40 billion Crown Property Bureau, adding to his already enormous wealth.
Yes, the Thai monarchy, I think, quite different from the monarchies we've discussed before. And luckily, we found two experts willing to explain us more about it. Joining us are Nantida Rakwong, a political analyst, campaign manager, and pro-democracy activist, and Sudha Rangkupan, a linguist by profession, but also for many years a Republican activist. Very welcome, the both of you.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me to this conference and for giving me the unique opportunity to talk about the role of the Thai monarchy in blocking democracy development in Thailand. Should I start now?
Yeah, well, so you have prepared a presentation, I think, for all of us to learn a bit more about the subject, and then we'll talk about it. But before the presentation, just one thing: you both are not joining us from Thailand. What would happen if you would join us from Thailand?
Sudha, would you like to go first?
It's okay. Hi, everyone. And nice to meet you again, Bram. Okay. Yeah, so if we talk about republic or any standpoint of being anti-monarchy, of course, we will be jailed at once, you know, or worse than that, we could be killed somewhere and no one knows. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. So I am, speaking from London, UK. So I cannot really go back to Thailand. I mean, of course I can go back to Thailand, but, we probably go straight to prison. So in Thailand, like Sudha mentioned earlier, if you mention, or say anything critical about the Thai monarchy, you could risk being put in prison for a long time. Like, for example, recently they put one Thai woman for posting something critical about the Thai king for 43 years in prison. Or sometimes if basically if you criticize the dog or anything that relates to the king, yeah, you can be in prison, you can be, tortured, you can be, like Sudha mentioned, murdered.
Wow. Yeah. You are not just an activist, you're also doing research on the topic of republicanism and monarchy in Thailand. Could you give us some background of the situation?
Okay, sure. Well, I'm now doing the PhD, about the Thai monarchy and the Republican in Thailand, in the London University on the PhD level. But in my MA dissertation, basically, I wrote about the battle of the Thai identity between the Thai monarchists and the Thai Republicans. So I want to show, because in Thailand, the monarchy and military regime attempt to portray that everyone in Thailand loves the king. And, the monarchy is a big part of the Thai identity. So if you don't love the king, then you're not Thai. So I want to challenge that notion that this is not, this narrative is just one narrative. There's other narrative that, people do not love the king and they criticize the monarchy and, some of them basically don't see the use of having the monarchy. Basically, they want to abolish the monarchy. So I write about that. So yeah, I just want people to know that we exist. I'm a Republican, so yeah, we exist.
And in your dissertation, you also write about how this image was constructed basically to serve those in power. Could you explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, the Thai regime try to portray that the monarchy is part of the long tradition of the country. So it's something so natural. We should just accept it as that. We should not question it and so on. So what I try to point out is that this narrative has been carefully constructed in 1950 after this general, Marshal Sri basically staged the coup d'etat. Like basically he worked with the king, the monarchy, the US during the Cold War to construct this narrative to fight against the communists. So it's also served the American interest and also served the interests of the elite from Bangkok, the very small circle of the elite within the monarchy.
And also, what role does the monarchy play in keeping back democratic reforms in the country?
So, basically, the monarchy has been working hand in hand with the military and the judiciary in, maintaining this autocratic power by suppressing the view of the people. So, like, for example, whenever a popular political party received the mandate to govern the country, they are either overthrown, if the king or the military do not like that government, they do not follow whatever the monarchy or the military want, they will be overthrown in the name of the king, either by the military or by the judiciary. And on top of that, when people come out and protest, when they show that they're opposed to this absolute regime, they are usually gunned down by the military in the name of the king. They will say, well, we need to preserve the monarchy. These people are the threat to the monarchy, a threat to the Thai security, national security, and the Thai identity. So, it's okay, I mean, to kill them, to preserve that power, the monarchy power, in the name of the king. So.
When protesting or activism could have such implications, I'm curious, Suda, for you, why will you still get involved if it can have such implications, protesting or questioning the monarchy?
Why? I think because for me, the only solution, the only resolution for Thailand to become democratic is to get rid of the monarchy. Is the only way, because the monarchy and the military government, military coup d'etat in Thailand, just like Da just spoke, that they work hand in hand. And we don't know for sure is the king who gave an order for every coup d'etat, military coup d'etat in Thailand, or they just go along with the military, the army. We don't exactly know what has been going on in Thailand, because all the informations were kept away from the people. But it's very clear that military and the king and the monarchy, they were together to prevent democracy to be fully installed in Thailand. So I think it's impossible to just only to have democracy in Thailand without doing something with the monarchy in Thailand. Now, a youth movement in Thailand have been demanding for the reform of the monarchy. But for me, because I left Thailand since 2014, after the military coup d'etat by the Prayut Chan-o-cha. So once I was in the neighboring country, I wasn't in Thailand, so I have freedom to think about all the problems in Thailand, and I have made a decision that for me, we have to go towards republic. Yes, this is the end for our fight for democracy.
Very brave decision before many others made it. You mentioned something interesting, the protests that were there last year and the year before. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nantida, but that was actually one of the first times that Thai massively came out and questioned the monarchy. Why did it happen then?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I think Thai people had been criticizing the king. You know, normally they would use the code name, and the conversation was normally conducted in the private space because it was so dangerous to do so. It's still dangerous to do so. So in 2019, I think what triggered the public to come out and criticize the king openly, basically call his name like openly. This has never happened before. I think because of the the Thai king, basically there's a news in Germany basically said that the Thai king quarantined himself with another 20 Thai women, and people were very angry because many people go to the part-time during the COVID. They cannot work, they have no money, and so on. And they look at the Thai king. Wait a sec, he was in Germany living in the luxury villa with another 20 women with the expenses of the taxpayer money. I think that's really trigger the public to come out and say something. And also those who came out and directly attacked the king, they were the younger generation. So they didn't grow up seeing the king,
even though still in schools they have to swear allegiance to the king, but it doesn't work anymore somehow.
It doesn't. I mean, I guess this younger generation, they didn't really receive like a heavy, hardcore brainwash educational system like the older generation, because the older generation, that heavy propaganda about the king happened after the massacre in 1976, during the Cold War and the communist era and so on. So this generation is a new generation. And also they can look for the information elsewhere, like internet and so on. They didn't have to, just read this textbook and so on. I think, they didn't really have any feeling or anything that relate to the king and so on. And when this COVID thing happened, it's really, triggered them to come out. And also the political party called Future Forward Party, which was supported by many younger generation, were dissolved by the Constitutional Court, because I don't know, the king didn't like it and so on. So yeah, that too, and also the COVID basically trigger people to come out on the street.
Now, before we go to questions from the audience, because I'm sure there are many, there was one thing that I found interesting in your dissertation, saying about Thai republicanism, that as much as you might dislike it, at least the royalist myth story is coherent.
Yeah.
But there is not yet a Thai Republican coherent story or myth. Well, why should you need it, and how can it come about?
Well, I think there's a question, if we don't want this monarchy military regime, what do we want? What is a narrative? What can we dream together as as Thailand, as a republican, right? So I think it's because I had been brainwashed, in the school, and when I got the political awakening, it was quite shocked to me, because who I was, I really questioned myself. It was quite heavy and so on. And I think many Thai people would if they reject this regime, they would probably go through the same process. So I think it's very important for us to come together and talk about who we are and, our history, what we want, our future, what, we can dream together and so on. Otherwise, what is the alternative to the military and monarchy regime? So yeah, it's not coherent because we don't have the safe space to talk about it. We, even we mentioned the king by the code name or his dog, we could be put in prison.
We saw that in the video, a man sent to prison for many years for making fun of the king's dog.
Yeah, and then many more, like about 200 people are charged with for insulting the king recently. So I think that is one of the reasons why. And then, the monarchy and the military regime have been doing this for many years, for 60 years, with a lot of resources. So, but I'm very hopeful. I think, one day, Thai people who reject this notion of the monarchy can come together and then talk about what we really want for our future. Yeah.
One question from Philip B that I think goes on about this is, how influential is the Republican movement in Thailand by the fact that the old king, the former king, was on the throne for such a long time? Maybe Sudha could answer.
How influential? Yes, he's very, very influential. You mean the King Bhumibol?
No, I mean I think the person asking the question means the Republican movement or the opposition. How influential is it?
Oh, sorry. The Republican movement. At this point, I think we cannot say that there is any Republican movement in Thailand. I wouldn't say that there is any, because the youth movement, they didn't call for a republic, for Thailand to become republic. They just demand a reform of the monarchy. And even the leader of the Move Forward party, did I say it right?
Yeah,
Future Forward party. Okay, many leading figures, they even mentioned that without a reform of the monarchy, Thailand maybe could be pushed to become a republic. So to prevent Thailand to become a republic, we have to support the reform of the monarchy. Maybe it's just a strategy to be able to talk about monarchy in Thailand, but we have to say that there is not yet any movement for a republic in Thailand. No.
I'm also curious. I mean, it's hard to do independent polling, but if you would, what would be the numbers?
You mean for the Republic supporter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also given that now you went from I think from the outside, quite popular king to a less popular king.
To me, if we have a referendum to remove the monarchy from Thailand, now we will lose for sure. I'm pretty sure that right now Thai people still think about it, that what is the best form of government for Thai people, because we have been through so many military coup d'etat, and the majority still support the political party which is overthrown in 2006, led by Thaksin Shinawatra. Even until now, we are the majority. Red shirt people are the majority of the voters, but many of us believe that we can still put the issue of monarchy on the side, not to mention about it, not to discuss about it, and try to get back to some kind of a government that elected by the people. And right now we have a constitution that allowed senators who are selected by the army and the king.
Yeah, and that's why like there's no such thing as free elections, because you still have this system.
So that's a problem. So for many of us red shirt supporters, I think we still want to go back to at least to change the constitution back to more democratic. That's all we hope. But to discuss about the monarchy to become a republic, we still have to discuss underground.
Then rounding up, because I think we need to, but very interesting maybe for the people viewing. David Sindel asked, given the treatment of anti-monarchists in Thailand, should we backing a boycott of Thailand as a tourist destination? But I want to make the question a little bit broader. What can people in other democratic countries do to support the democracy, pro-democracy or anti-monarchy struggle in Thailand?
Okay. So I think to boycott Thailand tourism as a whole is, it could be tricky because there are many small business owners that basically support democracy, and they are going through the suffering after the COVID and so on. I think maybe we can aim to for the specific company in Thailand, the business company, like you can go to Thailand, but try to make sure that you don't buy or purchase the product from the company that gives the money to the monarchy or to the military. And I think,
how do you know though?
Exactly. I encourage the Thai activists to basically, set up the website and put all the information out there. I mean, it's very tricky. I know that. But many big business like 7-Eleven, some 5-star hotels, usually are, supporters or owned by the military or the monarchy people. So.
Thank you. And I think maybe with the European movements, we should have a chat about publishing such a list. Natira Rakwong and Sudha Rangkupan, thank you so much for telling us more about the situation in Thailand. Thank you for listening, everyone. And I think after a short video, we're going to continue with the next subject.
Thank you so much, Brian. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.